Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of Points in the Paint. I am Sam Odeyemi. We are brought to you by For Frequency's Sake. And yeah, we talk all things NBA basketball on this show. We're gonna get to it. Pardon me. Yeah, and we're going to talk all things NBA. And welcome again to the show. All right, so I was here with you guys last week, and we talked a little bit about the NBA in-season tournament. We kind of went over the recap for that, and that was wonderful in of itself. And I guess this week we'll just get back to business as usual. And before I start, I do want to mention my Twitter handle is there below. So if you want to tweet me, I could be reached at marks0220. Feel free to tweet me about anything you feel you want to talk about. Heck, if you want to come on the show sometime and debate me, turn this on, debate me, or just talk shop. I'm sorry, if you want to come on the show sometimes, just talk shop with me. You're definitely more than welcome to. But nonetheless, here I want to get started. I think the first thing I want to do is I want to start looking at the conferences, look at the top teams from the Eastern and the Western Conference. Kind of put together a little list yesterday, but that's kind of contingent on records moving and games being played tonight. But if we start at the Eastern Conference, right now, Boston's number one at 20-5, Milwaukee's number two at 19-7, Philadelphia's number three at 18-7, Orlando's number four at 16-9. Miami's kind of surged back into it, and Miami's 15-11, sitting at the fifth seed. Knicks are right behind them at 14-11. Pacers are 13-11 at the seventh seed. Cleveland is 14-12 in the eighth seed. Brooklyn is 13-12 in the ninth seed, and Toronto is the last, the 10th seed, at 10-15. Obviously, there's 8 teams that make the playoffs, but we always have to remember there's those 2 teams to play in games now too. So 10, the top 10 teams in the Eastern Conference will, obviously advance to the postseason. Right below the Raptors, I'm sorry, at 10-15. The Hawks are identical with the same record at 10-15. My Chicago Bulls, which have been playing better of late, they're 10-17. And then Charlotte Charlotte Hornets are 7-17, and then the Washington Wizards are 4-21, and then last is the Detroit Pistons at 2-24. Look at the Western Conference. Minnesota's number one at 19-5. Oklahoma City Thunder are number two at 16-8. Dallas Mavericks are 16-9, sitting at the third spot. The Denver Nuggets are fourth at 17-10. Sacramento is 15-9 at the fifth seed. The Clippers are 15-10, and they're in the sixth spot. The Pelicans are 16-11, and they're in the seventh spot. The Lakers are 15-11, and they're in the eighth spot. Houston is 13-10 in the ninth spot, and the Phoenix Suns are 14-12 in the 10th spot. Golden State's right outside the playing teams. They're Golden State's 12-14. Utah is 9-17. Memphis is 6-18. And Portland is 6-19. And San Antonio is 4-21, bottom of the Western Conference. Looking at the Eastern Conference, I think the only thing that probably really surprises me, and I guess it's not a surprise really, but is the Orlando Magic, being one of the top 4 teams in the East. All the other teams in the West are in the East. I'm not surprised that they're in the tournament, but Orlando I think is the biggest surprise. But it's not really a surprise because Orlando has so much young talent that you can't at this point they can run 10 to 12 deep, and they're just going to overwhelm teams with their youth and their athleticism. They do have some veterans on their roster, so that helps them. That's going to help them as well. But yeah, it's kind of good to see Orlando kind of rise to the top. I know they were kind of down bad a few years after Dwight left, and just we've had some good players, but I'm not sure if they've made the playoffs since Dwight Howard has left Orlando. I can't remember the last time the Orlando Magic were in the playoffs, so good to see them get back into the postseason. I still remember that 2009 Orlando Boston playoff series is probably one of my top playoff series of all time. Back when Orlando had like Turkoglu and Michael Petrus and Jameer Nelson, Dwight Howard, obviously, Rashard Lewis. And they were, they played, Dwight at the center, and they were just hitting threes and running oops, and it was just beautiful, beautiful basketball. Not the same kind of roster today. They got a lot of young studs with Caro and Wagner, but they're definitely trending in that direction. Boston, not surprised, cream of the crop, 20-5. Their starting five is top tier. Milwaukee's been playing a lot better lately. Dame and Giannis have been playing a lot better together, so they're kind of figuring it out. It takes a while, obviously, these two to kind of gel. So that's good. It's good to see Milwaukee kind of putting it together. They've won 4 in a row. As I said this, if they're playing tonight, haven't looked at the scores or the schedule yet. Philadelphia has been playing well. Philadelphia's been playing well all season. They're currently on a 6-game win streak. They're currently losing to the Bulls now, but still, I think the first half. But Philadelphia, that duo of Embiid and Tyrese Maxey is really, really, really potent. And you're starting to see that too. And like we said earlier, getting rid of James Harden or moving James Harden to the Clippers was addition by subtraction. But the Clippers are also playing better with James Harden too. So it's a situation where both teams are benefiting. So no shade there. Miami has been up and down. They've dealt with some injuries. I know Bam Adebayo has been out with the hip. I'm not sure if he's back or not, but Miami's managed to get back into it, and now they're in the 5th seed. I think Miami's good. They'll just coast through the regular season, just make the playoffs. You got Jimmy Butler, who turns into Superman when the playoffs come. But otherwise, he's just Clark Kent during the regular season, and I like that approach by Jimmy. Conserve himself, doesn't need to and then really just when the games are really, really important. Obviously, every game's important. That's when he wants to step it up and take off his cape and glasses and turn into Superman. I think the Knicks was obviously consistency on Tom Thibodeau, 14-11. I'm not sure if the Knicks are going to make any moves. They're just going to stand pat. I know they just lost their center Mitchell Robinson to a few weeks or for a little while with the injury. So they just signed Taj Gibson, and so we'll see how the Knicks do without Mitchell Robinson. Pacers lost 3 in a row actually, but they're still 7th in the East. Pacers are good. Tyrese Halliburton's great, and they got some great pieces. They did just finish up as a runner-up in the NBA for the NBA Cup. The Pacers don't play any defense, so that's going to definitely hurt them, especially in the playoffs. You got to play defense. As much as you want to say offense trumps everything, we need to be able to play defense and lock down your opponents. Cleveland's right there below them at 8th spot. I know Cleveland's, I think Mobley, they're promising young big man. I think he just got injured, or I think he's out for a little while with the injury. So we'll see how Cleveland fares without him. Kind of hearing rumors about the Cleveland wanting to move Donovan Mitchell. I think he's up for a contract extension here pretty soon. But we'll see what happens there. Brooklyn Nets are the 9th seed. I know they're barely holding on. They're just 1 game over 500. Injuries have definitely derailed Brooklyn's season. Ben Simmons is out. Cam Thomas was out earlier in the season. So we'll see how Brooklyn fares. Toronto, the 10th spot at 10-15. Not sure what Toronto's trying to do there, if they're trying to compete or if they're going to rebuild. They do got some, good pieces on the team, Schroeder and Siakam and OG Anunoby. Those are all players who could potentially get moved. I don't think Scotty Barnes get moved. I think Scotty Barnes is their future, and he's only like 21 or 22. So, I think he might be the only, besides maybe their rookie, Grady Dick, they might be one of the only players that are untouchable. Not to mention Gary Trent Jr. He might be on the move as well. Atlanta, I'm not sure if Atlanta might look to make a move too. They're sitting at 10-15. And they're just outside the play-in tournament as well. Not sure how the fit between DeJounte and Trey's going, but Atlanta would be a team to watch. I think they have pieces to make a move. I don't know if they want to maybe try to get a 3rd player in. I mean, they have 2 guards here who are both good with the ball. And obviously, I think they have to learn how to play off of each other better. But we'll see. I feel like Atlanta's and they have DeAndre Hunter too, nice wing player. I just feel like I don't know what the Atlanta needs. The Bulls are playing better lately. Coincidentally, Zach LaVine's been out the lineup. So I'll just leave that to you. I still think the Bulls need to move some of their pieces as well. And then Charlotte, Washington, and Detroit, they're probably all going to be just lottery bound. Charlotte, LaMelo Ball's been out with ankle injury, so it's really tough to evaluate them at full strength, but it's giving an opportunity for Brandon Miller for Charlotte to kind of play the second round overall pick. So Washington's just all kinds of bad and just they're just blooper ready to happen. And I can touch on Detroit later. If we jump over to the Western Conference, now we want to look at Minnesota. And I actually saw a really good point today from Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp on their show. Minnesota's good, and they have a top-rated defense in the NBA. But what's going to hurt Minnesota is when they get to the playoffs and teams can kind of game plan or go small to kind of take Rudy Gobert out the lineup. So that top-rated defense is good now in the regular season, but I want to see if that holds true in the postseason. That's the only thing that scares me. Minnesota. Besides that, Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns are doing their thing, and the other players around them are playing well as well. So kudos to Minnesota for being number one in the West. Oklahoma City Thunder, they're kind of like the Orlando Magic of the West. They just have so much young talent. Shea, Giddey, Lou Dort, Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Joe, Jalen Williams. I think there's two Williams. These are just guys I can name off the top of my head, but they just have so much young talent that they're gonna find ways to win regular season games. They're gonna have more energy on most nights than some of these other teams because they're just loaded with young talent and they can potentially go 10, 12 deep. So kudos to Oklahoma City Thunder being that high. I don't think they've been that a 2 seed or ranked 2 in the West since Kevin Durant and Russ were there, and back when they had those years where they were always a top perennial team. Dallas, holding steady with Luka at number 3. I think Luka's usage rate's kind of high. You could that's cool and all when he puts on these shows, but in the playoffs, if other guys can't come to the party, then Dallas will probably who knows But I mean, Dallas has got some nice young pieces. They got Tim Hardaway Jr. and they got Kyrie Irving, Josh Green, Derek Lively. So we need to see more from some of these other guys because I think Luka's usage rate is just ridiculously too high. And it's like the kind of the same thing with like Houston's James. When Houston had James Harden, the usage rate was so high. They can never, you just can't rely on one player that much because eventually they're just going to wear. Denver has been playing better lately. Jamal Murray's back, so that's good to see them. Thirsty. I think Denver needs to make a move to maybe get somebody to kind of replace Bruce Brown, the high energy guy that they had. They had Bruce Brown, and he was a great piece for them. KCP, Murray, Michael Porter, Jokic, Aaron Gordon, they're nice, but I think they need to kind of solidify that bench. Christian Braun's a good piece. Can't think of anybody off the top of my head now. But they need like a high energy guy off the bench, or a veteran, like somebody that can come in and give them some good minutes. Reggie Jackson's good backup point guard, but they just need a dynamic. Heck, maybe if they can convince like a Terrence Ross or something to come out of retirement, somebody who could just come off the bench and be a spark plug from them. I don't know who that's going to be, but I think they're kind of missing that. They had that last year with Bruce Brown, and he obviously moved on to Indianapolis, so we'll see there. Sacramento. They're doing their thing. De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, they're the same team from last year, running it back, Sabonis. So I'm not surprised there. They're currently in a 2-game win streak. So I think Sacramento is right where they need to be. The Clippers are 6. The Clippers are actually on a 7-game win streak, so that's good. Obviously, the James Harden trade is starting to pay off, so they won 7 in a row. And that vaulted them to 6 in the West. Pelicans are 16-11. They won 4 games in a row too. After the way the Pelicans looked versus the Lakers in that NBA tournament game, I'm not surprised the Pelicans are playing the way they're playing now. The Lakers, I said this earlier in the year, I think the Lakers will be able to beat up on bad teams, struggle versus good teams. They haven't really the Lakers have dealt with a lot of injuries on their own as well. I think relying heavily on LeBron and AD it's a strength and a downfall, especially Bron being at this age. I don't anticipate Bron playing 82 games in a season. Heck, he's already missed a couple games. So if he goes down with the major injury, then who knows? AD has been playing well and putting up monster numbers. So shout out to AD there. But again, both of those guys for one reason or another. Bron, you could just say age, and AD just fragility, have been injured a lot. So they need a legit third option. Austin Reeves is playing better, but we'll see if the Lakers, who have been rumored to Zach LaVine now for a while, will make a move. Houston 13-10. Um, I think Houston will probably hover around that 7 to 10 range. And they'll be back in the playoff mix. This is Ime Udoka's first year as head coach, and I think he's doing a hell of a job. They got some veterans. They signed Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet, and both of those guys are doing their thing. The young guys are coming to party. Jalen Green, Alfarin Sengun, and I can't think of this guy's name. Jabari Smith and Jeff Green, who's veteran, but they got a nice mix of veterans and older players. So kudos to Houston for being in it. Phoenix is 14-12, but I just announced that Bradley Beal's going to be out for a while with another high ankle sprain. So we'll see what Phoenix does there. But yeah, those are, and then obviously, like I said before, those the bottom 5 teams after that: Golden State, Utah, Memphis, Portland, San Antonio. Um, I don't see any of those teams. Well, maybe Memphis and Golden State, but maybe those teams could probably challenge for a playing spot. So yeah, now I want to kind of look at talk about just some of these NBA rookie rankings, and some of the rookies that I want to give notice to: Chet Holmgren from Oklahoma City, Wemby Yama obviously from San Antonio, Brandon Miller from Charlotte, and Jaime Jaquez. I pronounced that wrong. From the Miami Heat. But all those rookies have been playing, playing well. And there's some other ones as well. Keontae George from Utah, Derek Lively from Dallas, the Thompson twins, Asar and Amen. They're both playing. They're both playing well as well. I actually like the rookie from Washington too. Doesn't get a lot of talk, but I've been mentioning him on my show. Bilal Kula Bali, small forward, 6'8", but he's a nice young piece for them. It's just unfortunate that Washington is just terrible. And then Kason Wall from Oklahoma City as well. He's been contributing, and that's good. But those guys are, and then even Brandon, I'm say Brandon P because I can't pronounce his last name, but he plays for Golden State. He's a backup point guard. I've seen him get some run to in key moments. I think he's a nice addition to that team. A great young piece for that team as well, especially with Golden State. Having Steph getting up there in age, Clay, being getting as well, and Chris Paul, Draymond Green, all these veterans in and out of the lineup, Kevon Looney. So you want to kind of infuse that young talent. So, and Brandon's shown a propensity for big moments. So that's good for him. And those are probably some of the top rookies. There's obviously more, but those are the ones I kind of want to highlight there. And then I also want to talk about the Detroit Pistons. So the Detroit Pistons are on a historically bad tear this year. As I say this now, they're on a 23-game losing streak. Shout out Michael Jordan. And it's just bad. They're 2-24. It's just bad. I think the only bright spot for the Detroit Pistons in this losing streak is that James Wiseman, the player they acquired from the Warriors, who was the number 2 pick in the 2020 draft, he's been in 2020, or it might have been 2019. He's been playing. No, it was 2019. He's been playing a lot better, and I think he's shown that he belongs in the NBA. And like their coach Monty Williams said, who probably won't be coaching much longer, but James is getting a lot better. And I just personally like the story too, because in life we always get knocked down, and Wiseman being the number 2 pick and then traded, and the bus label being attached to his name. We all deal with challenges in life, but it's not how those challenges affect you. It's more so how you use those challenges to rise above it. So I like that, it's for James Wiseman, and hopefully he can, catapult himself back into that discussion. So that's good for him. Detroit's just bad. I don't know what they need to do. If I was Detroit, I would just, play my young players. So you're not going anywhere. And they have a 0.7% winning percentage, which is nuts. But yeah, they've literally lost 23 games in a row. Again, shout out Michael Jordan, but that's bad. So we kind of had to highlight that there. And I mean, obviously at this point, you're going to get the number one. I mean, they should be a shoo-in for the number one pick, but heck, this draft this year is like real. I haven't seen any, I haven't seen any franchise players, so we'll see, what Detroit wants to do, what Detroit ends up doing. Even if you get the number one pick, if you can't get a guy that's going to help your team, then what's the point, right? Excuse me. So yeah, so now we talked about Detroit and they had that really bad losing streak, historically bad losing streak. So obviously, I had to bring that into question. We never want to celebrate losing. We always want to think in life we're winning in one way, shape, or another. I mean, even though Detroit is losing games, they're still winning because they're getting experience. So it's all about your mindset, people, how you spend things. But I want to look at some teams that are winning games. Start with the Clippers. They're on a 7-game win streak. Obviously, that James Harden trade, I think, is starting to work. And then obviously, players are getting adjusted to the role. So kudos to the Clippers for starting to do that. They're 8-2 in their last game, in their last 10. Their point differential is about 6 points per game. But yeah, that's we'll see what the Clippers can do with this team. Philadelphia, they're on a 6-game winning streak. Boston on a 5-game winning streak. Pelicans on a 4-game winning streak, along with the Bucks. So those guys are starting to figure it out. The Bucks are starting to figure it out. I think Boston's going to be dominant all year. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they're both heavy hitters. Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, Derek White, and some of the other pieces are just great. I think Boston definitely needs to strengthen their bench. Pelicans, I know Zion caught a lot of flack after that NBA game because if he looked out of shape, I personally thought he was out of shape watching that game versus the Lakers. But I think I'm pretty sure he's playing better, which has led to he has to be playing better to lead to their win streak. But the question, will go is, can you sustain that? Can you play at this level for the whole season, not get hurt? And that's why people call your weight into question, because when you look overweight and you're playing overweight, then yeah, your longevity is going to come into question. So kudos to the Pelicans for playing better as of late. So we'll see where that goes. And yeah, I guess those are the 5. Yeah, I guess Houston did lose last night to the Bucks, but before that, Houston was on a nice little streak of their own. I think Houston was like on a 4 or 5-game win streak, so they won a few games above 500. Had them in my notes, but I remember they lost to the Bucks late yesterday, so that makes sense. Okay, and then I guess look at the NBA trade rumors. Really, a bunch of players were eligible to be traded here recently. I think a date passed where, and I know obviously some of the top name mentioned in trade rumors is Zach LaVine, as it should be, and I think he even said if he got traded, he'd want to go to the Lakers. So if a player is openly saying that, then it's kind of a done deal, that are pretty much written in stone that he's going to get traded. And I mean, Zach's been out for a while with this foot injury, or he's going to continue to be out for a while too. So I'm thinking they're just going to let him rest and be like, hey, what I'm saying, let's get him 100%, and then we can move him. Yeah, DeMar DeRozan as well for the Bulls, and now it's Caruso. I think all 3 of those players can help a contender. DeMar DeRozan's and is a little older than Zach, but I think DeMar can step into a team, i.e. Philadelphia, Los Angeles Lakers, and instantly come in and be that third option. I think the Lakers, he'd be great being that third option. Don't know if that will happen, and I just say that because he's from the Los Angeles, I think Compton area, so it'll be kind of a homecoming of sorts for him. But I've also heard Zach LaVine being rumored to go to the Lakers as well. But we'll see. Alex Caruso, I think he can help a lot of teams too. And his contract is a lot more team friendly. I do love Caruso and loves what he brings to the Bulls, but some of our younger pieces like Kobe White and Desuma are playing better, and they need more minutes. And along with Dalen Terry as well and Patrick Williams, they need more minutes. And it's kind of a give and take where you want to have the young guys learn and grow, but you also want to have veterans to kind of help teach them and bring them along the way. But I mean, if you can bring in other veterans and get draft picks for these guys, I'm all for it. I think it's the right thing to do, but only time will tell. But until then, nothing's been made. So we will see what happens there. But trade deadline's not till I want to say February or some so. So we got like a couple months before, or not maybe like a month and a half before we see anything happen. Okay, and then the last thing I guess I can look at is the Grizzlies. They are playing with Thunder now, but Ja Morant is set to come back from his 25 game suspension here after this game. They're playing, like I said, they're playing the Thunder tonight, and then Ja Morant will be eligible to return. I knew it was right along the lines of Christmas. I actually had a coworker or a colleague mention that to me today. I thought it was maybe going to be right around Christmas or so. I guess it's the 18th, but so I was a week early. But yeah, and as it sits right now, the Grizzlies are. I just pulled away from the record, but they're. I could pull up like 6-14 if I read that right. No, can't be right. Grizzlies are 6-18. There we go. So depending on what happens tonight, and they're playing the Thunder, and they're at the Thunder, I would probably say they lose to the Thunder tonight. But then they're at the Pelicans tomorrow night, and I think Ja, when he comes back, I don't think he's gonna force anything. He's uber athletic and this and that. I think he's gonna kind of feel his way out. Obviously you don't want to force anything and press, and you got Desmond Bain playing good. You got Jaren Jackson Jr. Those guys can score, but they're going to need Josh scoring. And I think Josh's energy, and I think he's going to kind of, really pick and choose when he wants to insert himself offensively. But I think when he comes back now, it's going to be more of a filling out thing. Obviously, they've dealt with their share of injuries too. I believe they lost Marcus Smart for a while. I can't sure. I think D Rose might be banged up as well. I mean, lost Steven Adams earlier in the year, but John's an exceptional playmaker. Let's not forget that. He can get to the paint. He's uber athletic. He can obviously jump out the gym. He's probably got pogo sticks in his legs, like I say. But he can also set his guys up too with that athleticism. So I'm looking at the roster now, and I think guys like Desmond Bain will benefit from him being back. Jaren Jackson Jr. Luke Kennard. I can't remember if he's out as well, but Luke Kennard, he could probably get some looks as well. And heck, you might want to look for a team like Memphis. I guess they did make a move to get Marcus Smart, but they might look to pick somebody up as well. Who knows who that may be, but somebody to kind of give them offense. I think they have enough defensive ballers, but they're missing some offense. Ja will help with the offense, but I don't think Ja's going to want to try to force scoring. But I think but yeah, we'll see. He comes back tomorrow, so I wouldn't be surprised if that game tomorrow was televised. But it will be good to see Ja Morant back on the court. He's just dynamite and electric to watch. Just like watching prime Westbrook, prime D Rose, just uber athletic point guards who just defy gravity, and just the way they're moving, their fluidity of their movements too. It's just something to be impressed about. So. I'm actually looking forward to that. And they play the Pelicans tomorrow night in the back to back. Ja Morant and Zion Williamson. I believe they both from the South Carolina area, and I believe they played AAU ball together, if I remember correctly. So that'll be good. So now I'm just looking at some of the scoreboard games that are going on tonight. Houston, and of course my computer wants to load right when that happens. But I want to say Houston was down to the Cavaliers. Come on. Gotta love technology. Okay. Houston's down to the Cavaliers, 69-76, third quarter. Clippers are beating the Pacers 85-68, the third quarter. Bulls are beating the Sixers. Am I reading this right? 70-63. Yeah, the Bulls are just a different team without Zach LaVine. That's why I'm not gonna say I hate to say it, but you just gotta move him. I just think the energy is just he doesn't want to be there and whatnot. So just I think and like you say, we need opportunities for Kobe White and some of these other guys. But yeah, the Bulls are beating the Sixers 70-63. Embiid's doing his thing, 32-12. Kobe White's also got 20-6. Pistons and Hawks. Pistons are losing to the Hawks. I'm not surprised the Pistons are losing. I just said how bad they are. It's actually not even in their benefit to win anymore because they're not going to make the playoffs. But then we'll see what the draft brings. T-Wolves are losing to the Heat, 42-58. Looks like Tyler Hero's back. Hornets are beating the Raptors, 52-48. Grizzlies are losing to the Thunder, 26-32. Mavericks and Nuggets played later on. Nets played the Jazz later on. Wizards play the Kings at 9. And then the Knicks play the Lakers at 9:30. The Lakers are favored in that game, but I think the Knicks might win that game because Jalen Brunson's been on the tear. So that's just my opinion. Wizards and Kings. I think the Kings will win. The Wizards played back, lost a tough one to Phoenix yesterday. So back to back. We will see, though, that could be a high scoring game. I think the over under for that game is 250. So I definitely see that being a high scoring game. Nets and Jazz. Not really care much for that game. It's in Utah. I'm not sure if Markkanen's out or not. Brooklyn's favored by 4 points, so we'll see. I think I'm gonna lean towards Brooklyn. Mavericks and Nuggets. That's gonna be a good game. I like the Nuggets in that game. If you guys are into sports betting, sports gambling, I definitely want to drop my man's channel here, Gotham Gambling. Search for him, and I could drop it in the chat as well, which I probably will do. But if you're, like I said, if you're into sports betting, I like to do it. It's fun. Makes the games a little bit interesting. I'm not advising you to bet. If you do bet, please bet responsibly. Do not squander your rent money or anything along those lines. But yeah, his channel is at Gotham Gambling. I will drop that in the chat, and he's always got daily plays, and yeah. It makes my job doing this show a lot more interesting. I would just say that. But nonetheless, there it is. And yeah, so I think that is it for tonight. I'm going to wrap it up. Don't really have anything else to touch on. I can get with you guys in a couple weeks, and we can shoot the shoot the straws, whatever they call it. But yeah, so and I guess in a couple weeks we'll see if I need to hop on next week if something happens. Major happens between now and then, I will definitely hop on and recap it. I won't make you guys wait. I know you guys love seeing my beautiful face, and I love giving you guys this amazing top tier basketball NBA content. But in the meantime, again, I'm Sam Odeyemi. Feel free to tweet me below. Welcome. Thank you for joining me for another edition of Points in the Paint, and I will see you guys on the next take. Peace.